You guys don't want it
Good.
recorded, correct?
All right.
No, we do. We
You don't
do.
want it recorded,
Yeah.
okay.
We do go into closed session.
And if you could admit anybody who's waiting.
Mhm.
Hi.
Just had 2 vaccines and everyone went out flat. With RVS. and
RSV.
RSV
You okay?
and the flu.
Is that RSV the shingles one?
I'm all right.
No, RSV is the chest
Oh, okay.
one, and then the flu vaccine.
And the shingles one. Wait me out.
Oh, that wiped me out. I'll never do it.
Well, the first one was fine, the second one just took me out.
I mean, I
We didn't like
read your
that,
notes.
COVID vaccine too.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me
Nobody's
on
like-
shingles, but it sure happened to me yesterday and this morning.
How, do we have anybody waiting?
I didn't want to.
Nope, everyone's in, it's in, you got,
Hello, visitors online, are you there? Can you hear me?
I know.
Yes, I can hear you. This is Pam. I made it home. Thumbs up.
Okay, good, Pam.
Yeah.
And who else? Rob, Kathleen, are you there?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right, we'll call the meeting to order then.
Thank you, John.
Liz, would you call the roll, please?
Janine is not here.
Is she coming?
Yeah, only one time.
Anyone know?
So
Lisa
fast, I didn't
Pappas
do any
here.
more promotion.
Marty,
Yeah.
Tim.
10 seats to it, it's still full. Tim?
Tim, are you here?
So yes.
Yes.
John Reiser is not here. Will Weber and Liz Wiseman is here. And Barry is here.
3, 4, 5.
Okay, I guess we have a quorum, thank you. Now, approval of the agenda, I hope you all received that. One addition that came in late was our invitation to the Sustainability Fair, which we'll pick up under new business. Any other suggestions for the agenda? Can we approve the agenda then? All in favor?
We need a motion, which I will make a motion. Okay, and then who's a support? Support. Lisa? Okay, now we can vote.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes, any corrections to the minutes?
Excellent as usual.
What was that?
They are excellent as usual.
As usual, right. Okay, can we then have a motion to approve the minutes of regular meeting 217?
So move.
Marty?
Second,
Will?
all in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Good, all right, we've come to public comments. First, before we get to the public comments, Rob, you had asked last meeting regarding some parcels along the highway that you wondered about in terms of their potential disposition and appropriateness for us. Barry did do a little research on that. Barry, you want to tell us what you found out about that?
Yeah, I contacted Supervisor Hathaway about that. And he said that those are bits of publicly owned land along Jackson. They're leftovers from the construction of Jackson Boulevard. The Washington County Road Commission needed additional land to widen the road. Private properties were acquired, but sometimes a given parcel would leave excess land beyond the right of way. As a result, the Road Commission would have a piece of land left over, which it would deed over to the township. One such parcel is 6540 Jackson at the corner of Stabler and Jackson Roads. Apparently, the paperwork wasn't always filed, so some of these bits of excess land are still listed as belonging to the Road Commission. For example, the slice of land across from the proposed suburban Lithia dealership. Or there is no owner of record, for example, the parcel at the corner of Parkland Plaza and Jackson Road. There may be more such parcels. So it sounds like there are little bits of land.
So they're kind of in limbo, right? And
Yeah, and tend to be, I gather, very small and not particularly of interest to our pursuits.
all right.
The one across from Lithia I don't think it's full. But
I don't know.
it's next to where the monument store was.
Yeah.
And that is right where Park Road comes. It strikes me as being pretty big. It would be
Well,
very nice to claim trees.
which is not what we do.
And we've also tended not to deal with things that are in the sewer service district as well.
Oh dear.
We had a chance on one property, a larger property some years ago, and the decision was that's where the township has designated development and growth to occur. And so we didn't want to step on those toes, if you will. All right.
Oh, that could be that property I'm talking about.
Thank you for looking into that, Barry.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We have any other public comments or have any public comments today?
Got my hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Rob Pattinson, Scio Township resident. Thank you, Will and Barry, for going into such detail with that. Did they give you any idea of the size of any of these parcels?
No. So it sounded like they were little bits though, just, leftover, less than an acre, something along those lines.
At the Parks meeting last night, there's an Eagle Scout who is doing an Eagle project for a play space in Township Park behind Township Hall where the Ann Arbor Flyers were for 50 years. I was hoping that there might be something along Jackson Road that would be large enough for a park or something. And maybe that could be worked out with Eagle Scout if something along those lines is large enough for a small park. But thank you very, very much for following up on that. And Liz, thank you for the email with all of the attachments and all the financials and the minutes. And the financials and the minutes didn't end up on the agenda packet before the meeting. So just do a follow-up after and we'll get those attached. Barry's summary and your agenda made it onto the agenda packet, but not the financials and not the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Rob. I'll get more in the habit of doing all that together. I just forgot to put all the financials in this time in the minutes.
Thank you very much. Have a good meeting, gang.
Okay. Do we
Barry,
have-
Barry, can you let Jonathan in, please? He's once in on Zoom and nobody's running. Thank you.
Done. Jonathan, are you there? Jonathan?
Still connecting up audio.
I think he's in. He's just muted himself. I see him on my screen, so I think you're all set there. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, then maybe we can proceed. Next item is digital storage access of LPC documents. The idea arose, I think, partly from public comments, but also among ourselves, of the need to be able to access our documents and their history. And we had a brief meeting today with Chris Bailey, the IT expert. And he is going to set up a system for us to have both a public and a private access that we will have for those documents that are confidential, and public will be able to access easily, probably through the website. So that is underway.
Great.
We don't have John here to tell us about his efforts with planning. But I'll bet somebody online here has been to the planning meeting. Were you there, Pam?
Yes.
Just excerpts if you have them that might be relevant to us.
I actually don't. Rob, you might, oh, well, I guess there was a big, no. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. We'll skip it this time. Parks, Pathways and Preserves. Did you have a meeting, Liz?
We met yesterday. Two things that are most relevant to us. Van Curler parking lot will go in this fall.
Oh, excellent.
Construction should begin pretty soon. The board has approved.
That's on Joy Road.
Yes.
Cool.
So that's pretty great. And Dee Dee Marshall, Anna Cone, Roy, and Rita, who are the heads of parks. The three of them met with Mike Levine, who took them around his property for about an hour and a half tour to sort of explore alternative ways, whether there's any alternative access to that property to avoid cutting down all these trees that are in the right of way, in the public right of way, but that would have to go in order to do a parking lot for D.D. Marshall. And then Barry was gonna look into alternative access, I think, from the east side. And I'm not sure where you are on that, but what they've decided is to just kind of take it slowly on that and kind of see what the options are, study on it. Van Curler took a while, and now we have just what we need for that. And so they're just kind of working through the issues there. And then Rob mentioned the Eagle Scout. There's going to be a play space right out here. I actually think it's outside the entrance to the park, Rob. My understanding is that it was before you entered the park, this little open area right off the parking lot. I'm not positive about that, but that's what I think. So this Eagle Scout is going to work on that for us.
We get a place.
An outdoor play space that with natural features and things is my understanding. Like for kids,
Good.
Yeah.
And
Right out here.
Just for reference, the Van Curler property was purchased on December 18th of 2014.
Yes, that's
Going on 9 years
Took a
ago.
little while.
Yeah.
The opportunity was there. We jumped on it and, we didn't have the funds to put in the parking lot and so forth, but it's been there. So it's great to have.
So we feel as if they're, Parks, I think, agree that it's just worth another look to see what the options are.
Sure.
So that's my report.
And Riser's on his way, by the way.
Okay, we'll postpone the BOT report. Let's talk about Sustainability Task Force, and maybe this is where we can pick up on the fair that's planned. Marty?
Yes, well, the fair is a part recognition that if we're going to get anything going in the township, it has to involve a lot of communication with the community. And so various thoughts have been brought up, and you and I need to talk. I have some thoughts about waters.
Great.
Or sewers.
I have some thoughts about
Septic.
septic, right.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to talk about septic systems?
Yeah, right.
Well, all right, well, great.
But anyway, so this is gonna be the first slice for the Sustainability Committee to go public. And there are 6 or 7 groups within the sustainability. If you looked at the report, each section, it has a team that's attached to it. And so we've all been told to see if we can put something together for an exhibit. Why we think it's a good idea, what are the possibilities.
All right, does it seem, just nodding heads here, does it seem like something we should participate in?
I think that after all, we're dependent on a millage.
Did you say the date of it?
It's on the 28th.
Nope, we're good.
29th, maybe?
I'm taking a guess.
Yeah, it's
29th, so it's a Sunday, 1 to 4. And it's the same time as the Halloween party, so there'll be lots of people come to that with the kids, so there will be exposure. I wonder if we could have a subcommittee to look into what we might do as a presentation. Would you be willing to be on that committee?
Well, I know what I'm doing for our group. I was kind of dumped into the position of chairing a group of 3, and it's now a group of 2, because agriculture got removed for some reason. I'm not sure why. But now we're just waters and lands, green space. And so
So you already have a commitment to some part of this
Janine
fair?
and I are on Janine's finding
Yeah,
out about this, but
Right, I think that in some way, shape or form, Tim from an agriculture perspective, me from a water and Marty from a green infrastructure perspective will wanna be doing something. And so it would be great if someone else, other than the three of us from LPC, would be willing, and we should maybe coordinate, so happy to be in conversation with whoever from LPC about like, maybe we need a map, I don't know, I'm just imagining what people wanna know more about in terms of this commission's work. A map.
I would think
Some-
a picture with all the places that we have preserved.
We have those kinds of maps and graphics.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'd be willing to join the three of you and
Take
cook
charge
up
of
a
that.
plan.
Great.
Yeah, well, we'll be working on the green infrastructure, looking at tree canopy and impervious surfaces. And Norm is also on our group, and he is a satellite imagery expert. And he is able to carve out Scio Township.
But do you think it makes sense to sort of combine our notion of what we do with this parks and preserves as well, or?
I think it would be very good to have it adjacent.
Yeah, otherwise there might be
Absolutely.
redundancy otherwise.
So what would be the purpose of having a booth? I mean, and would you have a big display board or some flyer takeaways?
I don't know if we're thinking
or-
of a booth, I think we might be thinking of a table.
What would be on the table?
Maps, I would think.
Yeah.
And some
4-foot
maybe
table.
talk about the millage and what the millage says. And how much, extracted some of this financial stuff.
Maybe a application form for somebody who might be interested in
Hey, yeah.
applying.
Could be that. I think most useful would be for citizens who will be there to know about the properties we preserve.
I think that's
Yeah.
like, a lot of them have passed, like the Sloan has a great path that they've been working on, and so I think take credit for the land that we've acquired that's now being put into use. We've got a parking lot planned for is it Van Curler or D.D. Marshall, help me out? Yeah, so just that your tax dollars have done this, and here's what it looks like, get out there, use it,
Yep.
more is coming on the way.
And we just need one person to be able to explain them. If
Yeah,
Could be you, Will, great.
well, I'm willing to be there. Could be all of us.
And you could have pictures of the farm, I mean, just there's different aspects of the funding and what they've gone for, some for walking, some for farming, some for open space, just different
Right.
categories.
Let's, you want to set a meeting date for us to sit and talk about this together? I mean, it sounds like you guys already have something going. Do you have any meetings planned that would,
No, it's mostly on phone. It hasn't happened with us, but.
well, how about next Thursday? Would that work, do you think?
I'm out of town. Well, we might be able to just handle this with emails.
Well, all right, we could talk about it by email, that's fine.
There's wine at my house. Why don't you come and meet?
I hear that. Okay, all right, well, we have, I think, committed to doing it, and it's a question of getting more specific, given the suggestions that have been made here.
Well,
Take-
I think we want to keep the LPC separate, attached, but not repeating what we're doing.
Minutes.
Fair enough.
What is it called again? Sustainability?
Sustainability Fair,
Okay. And it's on
Sunday,
September?
Sunday, October 29th, 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay, all right, great,
It's
thank you.
next door. Fire
Yes,
station.
the fire station.
All right, anything more from sustainability? It sounds like that's kind of where we are, Marty.
I think that's,
Do you have a full name for that?
Sustainability fair?
no,
For the group, the environmental
Environmental Sustainability Task Force.
test. Marty and Janine and I, for that, Jan Colson has been leading.
I remember it.
All right, we're gonna try to leave a little early today, so if we can move it along. I know some people have other commitments well before 6 o'clock. Are you in that category too, John, where you're gonna be incentivized here to move it along?
Shut up.
Well, you can give us one or two tidbits from the Board of Trustees meeting if you have any to offer.
Lithium Motors was the main thing. A PUD agreement got passed, and that's going to be a dealership at Delhi, and there's going to be all electric. There's going to be an EV charging park. They're going to have a lot of environmental aspects to it. There's contributions per the ordinance to the tree fund, but also to I think 225 to fire infrastructure for motor vehicles and apparatus. Some others as well. The planning commission passed the SCAP, the plan, the sustainability climate action plan that got passed from planning commission. It's gonna now some future date go to the board of trustees. That's all.
That's good.
That's all for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, I guess we're going to be able to move down to open session consultants report.
We didn't have open yet. Okay, so I asked for an update on the Lake Erie RCPP. This is a $7.4 million grant award that was made for all the local partners. Theoretically, the funds were available October 1 of 2021. So coming up on 2 years with no means to access it. And Greenbelt staff have been endeavoring to work that out. Last I heard, things looked pretty bleak. And so I thought, well, I'll check in and see where things are at. And the response was, it's still looking bleak. However, they have banded together with other RCPP awardees in Michigan and Wisconsin. And also have engaged the state conservationist here in Michigan that we had some interaction with a while ago. But he's engaged for whatever that's worth. Still hoping to work out the details so that we can actually access those funds, so.
So the funds are just sitting in piles somewhere, and we don't have a pathway to getting, there's no.
To access them, that's correct. There has to be an application process that's approved by the Federal Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. And that's been the roadblock for 2 years now.
They provided the money.
Yes. Yeah, correct. And it's in their best interest to have the money be spent. And yet they have been unable to approve a process by which we can access those funds. And you know, the reason that other RCPP awardees in Michigan and Wisconsin have been engaged is that we're not alone in this regard. This has been a problem with the RCPP program in the current farm bill.
Which agency is this part of?
U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Agriculture.
Are they held up by the farm bill not being passed?
No. This is in the existing farm bill. And we had access to funds from the previous farm bill. And that all went very smoothly. And we have a great track record amongst all the partners here in terms of exceeding the number of acres that we said we would conserve, and the dollars that we would provide, all these measurables. And that's why we were awarded this, additional $7.4 million. But there's some changes from the previous farm bill to the current farm bill. There's been some disagreement about how what we all need to do to access those funds. That has not been satisfied to NRCS's.
Or anybody from Debbie Stabenow's office could help with this?
They, I know the Greenbelt staff have been in touch with Debbie Dingle, who's the representative for this area, as well as Senator Stabenow's office. So, I mean, they're working every possible angle on this.
Okay.
So, but as we speak, we still don't have access to the funds, but they haven't given up completely yet. They're trying yet another approach to it. So I'll keep you posted. Again, I'm not feeling very positive about it, but it ain't over yet.
Well, the money's there.
That's the argument that, you know, they're trying to make. And, you know, Marty mentioned that the farm bill, the new reauthorization of the farm bill is underway. And the RCPP program is intended to be part of the new farm bill. And I know one of the arguments that NRCS people were concerned about was, well, if you haven't spent all the money from the last one, why should we give you money in the new one? They haven't spent it, they authorized it, yeah, but it hasn't been spent. And so it's still, I mean, there's, I mean, probably hundreds of millions of dollars that haven't been spent.
Well, it's a lot of money, so you know, it's worth banging on doors.
Yeah. Well, you know, fortunately, I don't have to do any of that myself. And there's very competent people at the Greenbelt program that are dealing with that. I told them if there's anything we can do to support them, let us know. You know, but they're handling it.
Okay.
I did complete the update of the landowner list and just been running crazy the last couple of weeks here. So I have not got the mailing out yet, but that's on my list of things to do ASAP. I did have an initial meeting with folks in the city of Ann Arbor and
Just regarding that, you might add something to the letter regarding the sustainability fair and a chance to talk with people at the
Sure.
LPC about the idea. Something that can motivate people maybe to consider the idea.
sure. Got it.
And do you expect that letter to go out pretty soon, or what's your timing on that?
I'm hoping to do it this month yet.
Okay, so before our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
So I had this initial meeting with folks in the city of Ann Arbor and have another one scheduled for December. The first one was with folks that are involved in the water treatment plant that's being constructed. And they had interest in possibly providing funds to conserve land upstream of Barton Pond, where the water intake is located for the substantial majority of the city's drinking water. Potentially for easement acquisitions along waterways.
That would include Honey Creek, for example.
Correct. And Mill Creek also. So just an initial discussion about that, seemed to be some interest in that.
This is outside of the Greenbelt program?
Correct. Their interest is in having as clean a water flow downstream to Barton Pond as possible. And if things get paved over or cut down or whatever, there's more runoff, they've got more future costs involved for water treatment. And so that was our pitch was, well, we can reduce those potential future costs by ensuring that land, especially along waterways.
Yeah, you can't do much about Honey Creek.
Correct. We can prevent it from being paved over. But in terms of other factors in Honey Creek, there's high fecal coliform that's been discovered in Honey Creek, and that's been the case for a number of years now, so. And last I heard that the sources were known. So that's an ongoing challenge.
Is that septic or farming?
Not sure. Or
I assume they're different.
pet waste.
Okay.
I mean, all kinds of things that it could be. It's just been identified, and now, last I heard, that Watershed Council was trying to investigate to see if they could determine what the sources were. And And then the other discussion I have coming up in December is with folks that are involved in their sustainability program about carbon offsets for city activities, including the construction of this and operation of this water treatment plant. So we've, again, just sort of, we're pitching ideas and seeing if we'll get any traction. And that one is, well, if you don't have the means to offset the city's carbon footprint internally, then perhaps helping to purchase conservation easements on properties in the vicinity, either within the greenbelt or possibly outside of it, is a possibility. And they're willing to have a conversation about it. So we'll see where that goes. And finally, I provided you with the latest financial statements from San Diego.
Last one. Right, last month.
I included them with the packet this time as well.
They're attached, yeah.
September 12th.
I think that went to you.
I mean, I didn't post that.
Okay, well, it went to everybody and it is public
It
information.
is attached to our minutes from last time, when it's posted.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, you were on this, this is September 12th.
Yeah, I just got it a couple of days ago. It's included in the package that I
Are
sent to
you
you
gonna
all.
then, are you going to have, oh, okay, so I had already sent my stuff into the township.
Maybe so.
Are you going to have financials for us every month then, from now on?
Well, tell me if you want them.
I mean, it seems to me good public information to have. I need them in a format that can be posted online, so what I have for you, I had to send it in as a PDF, so I'm assuming that works for posting. Usually I send things in as Google Docs, but spreadsheets, I couldn't do
Well, those are
that.
documents from the township.
Yes.
So right, but they need to be posted with our minutes, I think, you know?
So the preferred
Attached to
format for posting is PDF?
Well, I'm not sure. I send them in both formats, so
Sure.
I'm not sure what Chrissy and Fran do. So I'll ask about that, but I've sent the last one I sent in PDF format, so.
I understand
I'll
That's
follow
probably
up and find out.
safest.
talking.
Should that work?
Yeah, because it's like final, you can't go in there.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll make sure that the PDF is okay.
Yeah.
Then if you get those to me, Barry, with your open session, that's what I need, because I need to put those online with our agenda. Thank
We
you.
also have the township now also has a contract with Plant Moran, government accounting practice, PM Gap. And we could reach out to them to see what the best practices are or what they want by way of that too. So if you want, I can ask them.
I think we're good, because if we attach them to our minutes, I think that's what we
Then,
do.
okay, as long as we're transparent about what they are.
Well, they'll be,
Yeah.
they'll be, it said pretty clearly in there, yeah.
And long-term, if we end up archiving things on SharePoint, we'll need to revisit what
Right.
format, because I don't know if Google Docs is compatible, so
Okay.
we're gonna need to think of that long-term as well.
I did ask that question of Chris, and he said any format is fine. He said it's like a big box, you drop things in, whatever form. But I think the point of standardizing format according to what's expected by the accounting
Interesting, because Google Docs
makes
is
a lot of sense.
proprietary, but okay.
That's all for the open session.
All right, thank you, Barry. We're gonna just briefly talk about attendance at the next meeting, which is October 12th. Any problem for anybody that you know of? I do appreciate knowing in advance if you're not going to make it, or if you need to leave a little early, we'll try to facilitate that. So we'll expect everyone then October 12th. Second session of public comments. I don't know if we've given our public food for thought out there, but do we have anyone who wants to comment further on what has been said?
Yes, indeed. Liz, if Barry's letter can be public, could we get that in the agenda after the letter comes out?
Talk about the letter to landowners?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
that a public letter or is that a private letter?
I don't see any reason why it can't be public in terms of the wording to it.
Without names attached.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yes. And then, Barry, over the last few years, as we've watched on Zoom, there have been so many meetings where you've been juggling protecting several parcels at one time. And over the last few months, that seems to have slowed down a bit. And I'm wondering, was there a glut of property that came online that was available to purchase due to COVID? Was there a lot of activity because all of a sudden from the COVID bills, there was money that could be spent for those? Do you have an analysis of how things have slowed down a little bit? You're still doing all that stuff you just talked about moving forward, but I'm just curious about the acquisition part of it.
It's not so much COVID money, or ARPA money, or applications. It was just, we had a lot of great applications, or, like the Renz, farm opportunity came up. We knew that Mr. Renz was going to die at some point, and he finally did. And so we jumped on that. So I think, I'd say that we had, a good backlog that we were working our way through of good properties, and then we've completed those projects. There are a number of there's a couple of properties that we're now actively involved in that we'll be discussing in closed session momentarily. And we've also been targeting the high priority properties that were identified several years ago, and then prior to that, there's been a couple of times when the LPC has gone through a prioritization process. So we've really been targeting our contacts with those people. And oftentimes, and it's certainly the case with several of these properties, it just takes time for people to say, okay, I'm ready to move ahead. And so we've been very cautious about where we spend our money. We want to spend it on the highest priority properties possible. We've got a couple of them that are now in play, but it's taken years for us to get to that point.
And that was always very clear that this is a very intensive and years-long process of making these things happen. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the response.
Are there any other comments? Okay, seeing no hands raised. Barry, would you give us a summary of closed session topics, including the possibility we'll have to vote at the end?
Yes, so I'll be reporting on a federal grant award that has been committed for one of our high priority properties that we've been chasing for probably 10 years. And talking about the next steps in that process. There's another property that we scored at the last meeting, and so I'm going to report on what the scoring is, and there's a potential action to commission an appraisal on that. And I met with another landowner recently, so just give you an update on that. I think that's one that's going to move ahead at some point, but she has not committed to it just yet. And there's another property that we scored at the last meeting, and we'll have a discussion about next steps for that one.
Okay, thank you. All right. I think we need a motion as stated there to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Okay.
I think we should state what the motion is.
Yeah, let's tighten that up.
it's written on the,
Okay, would somebody
Agenda.
read from the agenda? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't
Yes,
know.
We just gotta be circumspect or punctilious about why we go into closed session, the limited purposes for.
I'll do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're moving to go into closed session for discussion of pending property evaluations to consider the purchase or lease of real property up to the time and option to purchase or lease that real property is obtained. All right, it's been moved and seconded. We don't need a roll call.
Who's the
We do need a roll. call.
Who's our
We do need a
second?
roll call.
Who's our
Okay,
second?
Call the roll,
Tim.
please.
Okay. Janine,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Marty.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Will,
Yes,
and Liz is a yes as well.
motion passes.
So there may be one motion back in the open session again.
Okay, there may be a motion, all right.
It's possible.
Okay, pausing.
IT specialist.
Amazing.
All right.
Can you read the
Waiting,
motion?
so now we have a
A
motion.
statement in the report that
Okay,
septic systems.
we have a motion. Would you please read the motion again?
I would like to make a motion.
Order, please.
Aye.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Marty.
Well, you know what my vote is. I support.
But you
the-
can't, you can't vote unless you're not here.
Just stay,
One
just
minute,
stay.
stay 1 minute.
1 minute.
Okay,
Thank
go, Liz, reason.
Regarding application 2022-03 on August 9th, 2022 from Baker Road Land Holdings LLC to the Scio Land Preservation Commission to sell 237 acres to Scio Township, we, the Scio Land Preservation Commission, recommend to the Scio Board of Trustees that we acquire all 237 acres for preservation.
I support. Oh, Tim, you support, go ahead.
All right, we'll vote. We need a roll call on this.
Is there any discussion? And the discussion is, this is the application that came to us last August regarding all of the acreage, the acreage on the east side of Baker Road, as well as the segment or the smaller portion on the west side of Baker Road. And the Scio Township believes that that entire parcel, all that acreage is something worth possessing, something worth having, something worth preserving.
Keeping inside of town.
Yep, preserving. So, we know that that's not what's currently before the Dexter
I know you're trying to go.
City Council, but that's what was before this board by way of that August application to the LTC 2202 or 2022-03, easy for me to say.
Do we need a roll call vote for this?
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, can we vote?
We don't need a roll call.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right, okay, thank you.
She said aye. Liz, she said.
And I texted you, the final.
And you
note.
don't need any more action, Barry?
Nope.
Okay, we have then a motion to adjourn,
I so move to adjourn.
support.
Janine and Tim.
That was a productive meeting.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Want me to shut that down? for you?
That'd be great.
Thanks for helping out.
Did you get the card, Chris?
I did, thank you.
Did you start the recording too? You did.
Property.
Thank you, Lisa.
Uh-huh.
Good seeing you.
I know, that was.
The cover looks great. That was your photo, right?
Oh.
right.
Oh, yeah.